Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, pilot into the universe of Chinese. Today, we're coming across the one and only expression talking about the sex appeal of men, because majority of the expressions in Chinese language are appreciation of woman's beauty from different perspectives, either the looks, the moves, the moods, or the seductiveness of a woman. But I mean, that's because the language mostly was taught to men. Women were not part of the school scene at all, like 100 years ago. And the language readers, writers are men. So, I mean, it's mostly from men's perspective. But then we have one expression talk about the male attractiveness. And I feel like, okay, it's super biased and underrepresented language-wise, like how we describe a beautiful man. 玉树临风 is how we did it. And I mean, on top of my mind, I don't really have any other, like, this is the best known expression to talk about men's beauty. We don't really have anything that's come close to this one. Okay. 玉树临风. 玉, three horizontal lines connected with one vertical line. I mean, simple as that. It's simple because it was culturally, I guess, popular or prevalent in the past, because jade was used to be one of the major precious stones that were used as currency. And so everything was standardized, made into the disc form, just like coins into disc form, because then that's easier to store. And then Chinese way go one step further to have some holes drilled in the middle of the jade so that you can put a string over it. Therefore, it gets bind together, become a bigger unit of storement, and make it even easier to store. So this jade storement eventually, I guess that was most commonly viewed jade form in this stringed together, I guess a jade, it's almost like a row of coins. And this is the ancient row of jade discs. And you may notice contemporary Chinese have this extra dot in there. Like, why we add this extra dot? Because we have another character that looks just like it. It's two horizontal lines. No, three horizontal lines connected with one vertical line. Looks like this. Looks almost exactly the same. There is a tiny, tiny little bit of differentiation of this middle line. Didn't fall in the 50-50, like the distance here versus distance here is not equal, slightly above. So here is a little bit shorter than the bottom. The reason why is because it's a abstraction of the staff or decorated staff that symbolize power in ancient times. So the character, okay, so this is the decorated staff. Then the last horizontal line means the ground. So this is staff holding in hand. I mean, there's no hand depiction there. But this power symbol above the ground eventually means the ruler of the monarchy, monarch. So the two looks like converge eventually. It's easily got confused, especially before we have standardized type. So things are copied by hand through generations. So you can see the problem it can cause. So people, to differentiate this, power symbol sign, this monarch symbol, king, or pronounced as Wang, to this jade as a currency, then somebody differentiate this, add one extra dot to jade, because they people are not, because it's a monarch, this character probably has higher cultural sensitivity attached to it. You don't want to change, alter anything to that. You can change jade. Okay. Shu, we have the tree symbol, which by itself already means tree. But I guess we can generalize that to a generic plant, because we have the top is the visible part of the plant, and then the bottom kind of a drapey toward I guess gravity. So the two is kind of like a mirror image, right? Without drawing out this horizontal line, which is the ground. So there is above the ground the visible portion, and underground the invisible portion of the plant. So the plant exists in two parts. And I mean, how great is that? Like ancient language creators already acknowledge the full extent of the plant, not just the visible part, right? So the plant symbol then paired with, okay, the middle part is two different icons. So here, okay, this trident looking thing sitting on top of the floor. This is the visible plant. This is plant above the ground. And that simply means the plant growing upward. Okay, the bottom, a circle sitting on two sticks. Also a ground line. So both of them have this ground line. This is a drum set. I mean, we can see that, right? The drum set cannot sit just on one. It's not like a lollipop pop on one. It has to be supported by two vertical lines, and that's a drum set. It have to, sit firmly on the ground level. So both of these symbols are upright standing. So the total meaning of the middle portion is using their uprightness. And then the most right side of it is three-finger hand symbol. Chinese abstract hand without sometimes with full five-finger symbols. Full five-finger icons, once it's used in the language, means it's some hand motion. We want to highlight this is about the hand. But here, this three-finger hand symbol, the hand symbol is simply a participant to finish the story here. It's not the leading character here. So three-finger hand symbol, and then with one horizontal line here. So this is pointing toward 1 inch down of the wrist to give you the exact point on your wrist that the Chinese ancient medical practitioners can pulse read from this 1 inch down. And eventually this 1 inch down the wrist become the rule setting or the best practice. And then we have the plant upright, right? And the best practice together, it means to plant the tree correctly so that it follows the best practice and it stand upright. Together is this kind of a worthy way to say this is a tree. You have to treat it correctly, to plant it correctly, to make it upgrowing. Okay. 玉树, and then 临风. Lin, we talked about that one before a few episodes ago. So here, this structure is a simplification of the eyeball seen from the side views when somebody's head is bending down. So it's almost like here is the pupil of this eye. And then the frame here, so there's two stacked up lines broken by this eyeball. It's like the eyelids, the top and down of the eyelids. And then the eyeball this way, so that from the angle the eye is positioned. It implied the holder of this eyeball actually holding the whole head, bended forward. So it's kind of in a bow posture. And a bow implies submission. Like you're not facing whoever is overpower you face to face, eye to eye. You're kind of bowing to show submission. You're not going to fight. Okay, then here, this, according to some scholars, this kind of like a whip, ancient corporal punishment tool. So you have the enforcement of this order, and you have somebody already being submissive, and you have 3 mouth symbols, means multitudes, means a crowd of them. And mouth symbols in Chinese, kind of a simplification of population, or humans, because mouth as speaking and eating, 2 main functions of humans, serve as super simplification of the representing of a human in there, or somebody who can speak, somebody who must consume. Okay, then you have the image of the oppressor, the oppressee, and then the crowd or the population. And together it create a scene of the ruler or the monarch of this land ruling over this population, these mouses, right? With the result of their being submissive, with the enforcement of corporal punishment. So this Lin actually means someone who is overpowering you, calming down, and everybody have to show their submission, bow. So if you ever watch some Chinese period drama that depict the ancient dynasties, when the emperor shows, everybody have to bow, have to have their eyeball pointing downward in the shape to show submission. And this Lin simply describes this moment of a ruler, someone who has your absolute power over you, coming in your presence. And that's the posture you're supposed to take, to bow down. And okay, so Lin, in today, we lost that oppressor oppressee context, and simply means something is approaching. And when something is approaching, 玉树临风, in this context, I translate as embrace, because approaching has this, okay, the ruler approaching, and then everybody bows, that kind of force to go with it. But here is an individual, even if it's a beautiful man, yes, I probably have this nuclear kind of energy, emission kind of impact. But I would rather translate it as embrace, because 风 as well, I guess you can translate it in 2 ways, as a representation of the natural elements. So you have this 玉树, which represent the male figure. It's pure, it's jade, right? And the shu is upright, standing. Jade tree is this male figure. And you view this male figure in the environment of this windy day. And that man's posture is, embrace the wind. So it's almost like in face of adversity, the man need to take the stance of, face off with the adversity, as if that man is the boss or the ruler. Like they have full control or command of their own being in face of the weather condition. So that's why I translated it into embrace in this context. Okay, 风 again. 风 have this cultural meaning of sexual signal sending, seasonal thing, kind of like corresponding to spring fever. So that's the season when this mating season, and then a lot of chemical signal sending. And in this case, I would rather view it as, okay, attractive man, right? It's probably, can embrace the signal sending, but that's kind of limiting the man to the mating season man, which is, diminishing of the man's domain. If we view the wind as the natural element, almost like adversity, right? That almost elevate the man's image. But again, it could be, my reading of this expression of man in a context. of wind influenced by contemporary, appreciating or value of what a man is supposed to behave, right? Kind of stand tall in face of adversity. But it could be like historically, that could mean a man that look as pure as jade, upright as tree, is really embracing this mating season signal sending thing. I mean, it could be, right? Okay, so 风, because it's invisible, so Chinese describe 风 as it's environmentally. So it's not a direct visual representation because it's hard to capture something invisible. So Chinese use there's a worm coming out of its hiding place. So this is a worm, and this is the kind of a popping of the worm from its mold coming out to the world. So this shape of worm going out concurs with the season when the wind start to pick up. So the worm coming out their shell or whatever the hiding place concurs with the wind picking up. And that's the indirect way to describe wind. So 玉树临风, if in just one English word, I translate as dashing, because dashing probably mostly designated to men. And also dashing have this connotation of audacity, of this, have a strong capability to, I guess, to kill, to defend, to fight. And of course, in terms of mating market, is to attract. And when I searched 玉树临风, this image came up. It's not of course, it's not real, but it represents the sense of, it's the rain, it's not the wind, but it's natural element. And apparently this is a guy who can fight as well, even if he looks kind of girlish. And this face, actually, this is a culturally appreciated, as leading contemporary Chinese culturally appreciated cartoon face, even if it's applied to man. And I mean, if you switch out the costume, you can almost view it as woman as well, right? Because there's really no other gender markers to show on this person. But this man in the element, Lin Feng, was captured in this frame. And I guess his skin is kind of a yu shu, kind of a jade, this kind of surface, pearly, clean-faced. I mean, it's hard to imagine, right? As a culture, we appreciate such a beauty, kind of a skin deep beauty as well. And also the posture have to be upright, standing. It's not crouching. It's not, definitely not kneeling or bowing. And yeah, this is a lot of cultural embedding in there as well of the man, like what's supposed to be a good-looking man, from the surface, from the stance, from the attitude, from its interaction with the environment, all together packed in just 4 characters. All right, so that's 玉树临风. Thank you for your time. See you another day.